IPC report disregards that on average 600 to 800 aid trucks enter the Gaza Strip every single day, with 70% of them carrying food, which is nearly 5 times more than what the IPC itself said was required for the Gaza Strip. This is not the first time an IPC report regarding Gaza has been published with extreme forecasts and warnings that do not materialize in practice. Time and time again, IPC assessments have proven to be incorrect and disconnected from the data on the ground, the reality, contradicting verified facts, including aid volumes, food availability, and markets. Like I said, the reality on the ground inside of the Gaza Strip. Next, allow me to share with you the situation in regards to Lebanon. The IDF and our security forces will continue to uphold and enforce the ceasefire, protect the security and safety of the State of Israel, and ensure Hezbollah does not rearm and strengthen its terror capabilities. Today, the IDF announced they eliminated a Hezbollah terrorist who was involved in rehabilitating military infrastructure in southern Lebanon. Now, these attempts constitute a violation of the understanding between Israel and Lebanon. And now to Australia. After the victims of the horrific massacre on Jews on Bondi Beach were buried, Prime Minister Netanyahu shared that terrorists are targeting places where the Jewish community is vulnerable and not protected. And Australian Jews were not protected on Bondi Beach. The Prime Minister is calling on Australian government officials to intensify security arrangements for the Jewish community, act against Islamist terror cells inside of their country, and tackle organizations and people who incite violent protest against Jews. Prime Minister Netanyahu has not only warned Prime Minister Albanese months before this horrific massacre that there would be an uptick in violence against Jews, but he warned other officials in European and other countries around the world that when you call to recognize a Palestinian state, a direct message is heard. Kill Jews and you'll be rewarded. These leaders must do more to protect Jews and citizens in their own countries. Last night, Prime Minister Netanyahu lit the Hanukkah lights with Chabad emissaries here at the Prime Minister's office in Jerusalem. He said on the final night of Hanukkah that the Chabad community and the entire people of Israel went through a great tragedy together in Sydney, the despicable massacre of Jews there. The Prime Minister said he shares in grief from the bottom of his heart, but we also see that greatness and unity is determined and strengthened more than ever to ensure the eternity of Israel, with Chabad emissaries around the world working to do the same thing to ensure we continue to win together. These tragedies are designed to break us, but in fact, it does the opposite. Prime Minister Netanyahu shared with the emissaries that we have not lost hope, nor will we ever lose it. He also saw this with other Chabad houses and communities in the past who were affected by terror attacks. We pray for a swift recovery for those injured in the egregious attack against our people in Sydney, Australia. Next, I can share with you that today, Prime Minister Netanyahu will be holding the 10th Trilateral Summit of Israel, Greece, and Cyprus here in Jerusalem this afternoon. As neighbors in the Eastern Mediterranean, our three countries share strong relationships, which we are building on today to usher in an era of stability, prosperity, and security and cooperation. Prime Minister Netanyahu said at the beginning of the war in Gaza that Israel will change the face of the Middle East. And going off of that, our three countries together will also change the face of the Mediterranean. Prime Minister Netanyahu will be meeting with both the Prime Minister of Greece and the President of Cyprus separately before coming together for this historic 10th trilateral meeting together. And joint statements will be made to the press around 6:45 this evening. We also want to wish those who celebrate in Israel and around the world a Merry Christmas. I'll now take a few questions. Okay. First question, Joel Pollack from California Post. 1. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said that the reason white supremacist Nick Fuentes is gaining notoriety is because of a real backlash against U.S. policy towards Israel. From Israel's perspective, what aspect of American support could cause a, quote, backlash? Evidence emerged in Australia that the terrorist who attacked Jews at Bondi Beach last Sunday recorded a video denouncing Zionists. What does that say about the link between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism? So I'll answer your question together. Prime Minister Netanyahu has been unequivocal. Today's surge in anti-Semitism is real, it's violent, and it's coming from multiple different directions. The radical left, the radical right, and Islamist extremists. It is fueled by incitement, by the normalization of hate, and by state sponsors of terror led by Iran, who deliberately amplify anti-Semitic and anti-Israel content to radicalize and provoke violence. I also will say there is no distinction between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. To be a Jew is to be tied to this land, and you can't take a Jew out of the land of Judea. This is not abstract. The murder of Jews in Australia on Bondi Beach in Sydney showed where unchecked incitement leads to. Now, anti-Semitism starts with Jews, but it never actually ends with the Jews, as many of you know, and it must be confronted decisively wherever it appears. Thanks for that question. Okay, looks like those are all the questions we have right now. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to our office. Thanks so much for joining us today.